Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unscripted Coding. Today, we are going to be playing around with Bootstrap, a web design framework. Y- Anyone that has been with the channel for a little bit knows I love Bootstrap. It is a series of tools to make just putting up a website much, much quicker. They have all sorts of layouts, components that are pre-built. And so you just throw up a button and it already looks good on your web page. And so we're going to use Bootstrap to create something that looks good. And what we're pairing that off with is an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. This one's from Docracy. You can see it is a legal document. It's not really that long, but it is a big wall of text. Nobody will want to read this for, bedtime reading. My goal is to just inject a bit of Bootstrap into here to make it look nicer, to make it more readable, to highlight the most important points. And so I think this is something you see every day. Today, we are bombarded with legal documents, and they're all just these dense pieces of text. And so I think just by using some modern designs, you can make a document much more readable, much more to the point. You don't even have to change the words. And so the goal here is take this document, minimal to no changes to the text, and make it more readable. Now, I won't be the first person to do this. Airbus has uh, done something they call NDA simple. And so they have taken this NDA, not this one specifically, but their NDA, and added a bit of white space, added some icons, highlighted the headers. If you were forced to read one of these documents, this one is much more appealing than this one. And so I don't think I have the same resources, time, legal mind to do what they've done here. But I certainly think we can, in very short time, make this look much more approachable. And so what else do we have to go through? There are lots of different variations of making this look nice. Oh, what I needed to talk about is what is an NDA. I've said it probably 10, 20 times so far already. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. It is exactly what as described. It is an agreement not to disclose information, a confidentiality agreement. If I give you confidential information, you must agree not to share it for whatever purposes, nefarious reasons you may have. You can't tell your friends and family, my competitors, what have you. And you can imagine this is a super, super, super common document because it's just everywhere. If I'm pitching you a business idea, if I'm an employee, if I'm just working with you as a partner, if I'm using your business, um, you need non-disclosures everywhere. People are passing secret information all the time, whether it is the secret recipe, whether it is your brilliant $1 billion idea. You're sharing all of these things, and you want to make sure that it's kept secret. So we're going to turn this into something you want to read. Okay, so we have just done the bare basics here. We have just used different headings, paragraphs, lists to make this more palatable. And so I think this is better. It's not that much better, but it's much more scalable. If you were reading this on a phone, it's possible. And I've also gotten rid of a couple pet peeves of mine. So one of them, right here, having bullets inside in line. So Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, all in the same line makes it very difficult to read. And so I don't know why they don't just break it out to bullet points, because paper doesn't cost that much. It's gonna be long anyways. No one is saying, oh, I'm not gonna read it if it's a page and a half long. So I've broken them all out. You can see a couple pieces. Another pet peeve of mine, but one that's more understandable, is this provision 6. They just crammed a whole bunch of different provisions together into one paragraph, I guess. The idea here is nobody, like, these ones are never negotiated. This is like the miscellaneous package that just needs to show up in every contract. And so I've broken it out into these general terms. The other thing, just me, or are these some of these bigger than others? Nope, just me. The other thing, obviously, is I put headings in all of them. I think that's really important because that will allow us to build um, a table of contents. If this was a longer document, you'd be able to have a table of contents on the side. I also have tagged certain parts of the document as definitions, defined terms, fields, clauses, so that we can start doing some more interactivity. So right now we've done the bare bones minimum, and I have to say lawyers don't even do that in general. They, for whatever reason, they love the big wall of text, difficult to read, just really little white space. And so I think this makes it much clearer. If you kind of sort of know what you're doing, then this will be fine. I think we can actually. So now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm using these headings that are fairly traditional. Waiver, severability. I think we can actually use headers that are friendlier. So we can say what is confidential, what isn't confidential. Request, return, or destruction. It's probably not the greatest one, but we can make it much friendlier. These headings show up the way they are, but they didn't even have headings in this one. So I can write whatever I want into here. And it's not really going to change anything. In fact, I can put in a headings clause as well. So a headings clause says the headings just don't really matter. You can't use it against the person who drafted it. So that may be one row. But again, we've done just the bare minimum, but it already looks easier on my eyes, at least. And now we're going to build in some interactivity. Okay, so I have spent, I think, an hour and a half, 2 hours on this already. It's taken a bit longer given that it looks like generic Bootstrap. It's the alert, the buttons, the underline, like everything looks like Bootstrap. But the real challenge here is thinking about what would be useful. And so the first thing I did is, and the first big thing I did is having these tooltips. And these are huge. If every contract in the world had these hover tips, that would make everyone's life already a lot easier. But um, that's just one piece. And then the next one is I started fiddling with the headers and making it easier to parse. You can do that on a Word document as well, but I think it's important to have these boxes for summaries. This friendlier names for heading. Um, and just trying to get that together. Where I'm really struggling with is how I can collapse information. And so you can see I struggled with keeping the list, and I'm really turning against that now. I'm really thinking I'm getting rid of the list entirely. But other than that, it's not obvious you can click this. It's not a button, it's not a link. And if you look at the accordions, it's so blatantly obvious you can expand and collapse. And so I I think I might want to add one of these icons to make it obvious. Or I may so yeah, you might be wondering why I'm not using the accordion. And the problem is I couldn't get them all expanded out. And I think I'm just going to need to find another way to do it because there must be a way to keep all of the accordions expanded. But the reason why it's important is because you can't show a legal document that's all collapsed because the first thing somebody is going to do when something goes wrong is claim, I didn't read the contract. Look, it doesn't even say what you say it says. Oh, I didn't know that we were able to expand it. That's going to be argument number one, and it's a fair point. So you want everything expanded out and then give them the option to collapse it. And so you can see up here, I have collapsed text so that it shows very obviously that it's being condensed. I fiddled with different ways to do it. I have this kind of sidebar. I'm really turning against it now. I think that looks not great. And I may go back to the accordion, figure out how I can expand it all out. But that is basically the major piece I want to do right now. That's the last piece to make it expand and collapse in a way that's obvious, that's nice, that keeps this kind of formatting. And so I played around with the cards, I played around with different options, and I really think I just need to find a way to make the accordion work. Hey everyone, we are done. So we set out looking at this non-disclosure document and trying to make it easier to read. And I'm a little bit mixed because when I look at that, we've added summaries, we've added headers. It makes the document look longer. There's a lot more white space. It's easier on the eyes, but it's hard to deny that it's actually a longer document. Um, so that is my kind of one concern. And if you have any ideas on how we can shorten and simplify contracts, I'm all ears because that is something I'm passionate about, something that I'm really looking to do at on my day job, how we can make them easier to look at. But the reality is, if we're gonna put more white space and add summaries and headers to this, it's gonna be a little bit longer. Um, but let's go through what we did. We obviously had the defined terms, and we have the really cool pop-ups. We have these fields highlighted. So if I'm looking at it right off the bat, April 9th, that's a key thing I want to know if I'm doing a lot of non-disclosure agreements. The major things that I've done here that you can do on any contracts is just organization, friendlier headers, and summaries. So not everyone knows what a well, actually, they didn't have any headers on this one, did they? No. Um, but something like this, I couldn't even think of a name for it. Severability. Who knows what that actually means? You need to see a lot of contracts to know what severability means. Is if one part of the contract is, say, illegal or unenforceable, doesn't bring the whole contract down. The rest of it still applies. But there has to be a friendlier title, say return or destroy proprietary information upon request. That's really clear. The other thing, not suitable for every contract, and I'd say maybe not even for this one, are summaries. So some of these longer ones, you just want to get to a gist. You can't disclose proprietary information. Here's 5 different ways to say it. You can do that on any contract, and I've seen it done before, and I think that's really helpful. The one saving grace that I think really helps the fact that it's longer is this collapsing and expanding. And look, you basically get a table of contents right here by collapsing it. You can look at what you actually care about. Because if you had this document and you're just wondering, what can I actually disclose? It's very hard to parse through a wall of text, but if you have the right headers, you have the right structure, it's very easy. Oh, there's my obligations. There's the definition of proprietary information. Actually, it's even highlighted for you. So makes it easier overall, and the collapsing really helps. So that's about it. As I said, this is something I care about on a daily basis. So if you have any concerns, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it. The one obvious suggestion is we should change the text entirely, which I agree, but it's going to be really hard to convince people we should start contracting differently entirely. What we can do is add these tools, automatically parse through definitions. Now, I did it very manually, these definitions, but you can imagine a tool that'll run through it, put it online, run through it, parse through it, make this all into code, nice and easy. What we've done is just lay the groundwork of how a UI looks like. Last thing, before I drag on too long, is mobile friendly as well. The really difficult thing is when we keep getting PDFs at work. And then if I want to take my phone and start looking at it, they're tiny text. They don't reflow. If you're on HTML, it stretches longer and longer, but it's right text size. You can actually read through it. Yeah. So, if you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe. But if not, I'm always looking for constructive feedback and new projects. I've been all over the place. I did a bit of work with obviously legal stuff. I did a bit of drawing. I did a bit of VR stuff. So I am all over the place. I'm excited to work on new projects all the time. If you have any suggestions or questions, I'd love to hear them. So thanks for watching. Again, that thumbs up really, really helps.